Hi. In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at creating pivot tables. Pivot tables are actually quite simple when you go to make them. However, you really need to ask yourself questions as far as what is it that I'm interested in seeing, what information can I get from this, and how do I do it? And so I'm just going to go over a short example to give you ideas of maybe how to make a pivot table. In the data set we have here, we don't have a ton of data, but we have a woman who owns a gasoline station, and so she's charging different prices because it's fluctuating. So in week 1, we go from Monday through Sunday. Week 2, so we have about 8 weeks of data that she's collected, and she wants to know how she's doing compared to her competitors. So you can see on the first day, the first Monday of the first week, they were the same price. On Tuesday, Donna's was cheaper by a cent. But then on Wednesday, her competitor cut the prices by 2 cents, and then again on Thursday. Then on Friday, they were the same price, etc. So this is the pattern of what's actually happening in our data. We might want to get a better idea of what's actually happening maybe by day of week, or by week of summer, or by how her sales are doing. And so to do that, I'm going to create a pivot table. With a pivot table, you want to pick whichever columns you think might have interesting data. It does not need to be your full data set, especially when you have large data sets. You might want to narrow it down to a smaller or a pinpointed section of topics that you're interested in. So I have some quantitative variables like week, which there's 8 of. I have days of the week, which is a categorical variable. I have the price that she paid, which is in dollars and cents, what her competitor paid in dollars and cents, and then what her total sales were for each day that we have focused on. And so to create a pivot table, I'm going to highlight these columns, and then I'm going to go to Insert. So if we click Insert and we click Pivot Table, what it's going to do is it's going to take whatever data you highlighted and it's going to bring it over to a pivot table. Now, if you have any spaces, it's important to notice if I had like a space between 2 columns, it won't convert to a pivot table. If I'm missing headers, it sometimes won't convert to a pivot table. So you want to have data that has headers in the top row and then data on the back side. And then once you have that, you're going to get a sheet that looks like this. Now when we pulled it in on the right-hand side, we have the week, the day, her price, the competitor price, and sales. Now, day of the week I think is vital in thinking of the data. So I'm going to pull that to rows because I want that to be what I look at from left to right because I read this way, and that's why it would be my row data. Looking at my row data, I want to know, on average, how much does she charge each day? So if I take Donna's price and I want to know what she does each day, I'm going to say take Donna's price and give me the value. Now, it will automatically tell you there were 8 weeks. That's all this 8 represents. I don't want to know that there were 8 weeks. I'm aware of that. So what you want to do is you want to click on this little toggle, the right-hand side with the arrow pointing down, and go to Value Field Settings. If you go to Value Field Settings, you'll see that you can actually switch up what it is you're looking at. And I don't want to know the count. I want to know on average, what did she charge every day? And so if I do this, it'll show you on Sundays, she charges about $3.45, a little bit more on Monday, way more on Tuesday and Wednesday, a little lower on Thursday. Thursday and Friday are equivalent, and then the prices seem to come down on Saturday. Now, I want to see if our competitor's doing the same thing. So I'm going to drag them also to values. And what you'll see is they'll put Donna and her competitor next to each other. Now, it still thinks I want to count how many data points I collected, which sometimes I do. But in this case, I want to see, well, how much were they charging on average? So again, I click on the right arrow key down and I say, well, what's the value of this field? So if I click on average, it now shows you that on average, on Sunday, Donna charges $3.45.8 and her competitor charges $3.44.6, which is about the same. On Monday, they're almost equivalent. On Tuesday, her competitor seems to be a little cheaper. Wednesday, they're about the same, but reality, there's not a ton of difference here between her and her competitor. Now, I want to know how she's doing in sales by day of week to see if the cheaper prices cause higher sales. And so what I'll do is I'll also add sales here. Now, I know there's 8 weeks. I don't want to know what her average sales are because that's just going to take the price and it's not going to help me any. So instead, what I'm going to ask it to do when I go to Value, Field, Settings, is to maybe tell me the sum. What did she make if I look at all 8 Mondays together? And so if I click OK, it's going to show you that she made $6,800 on Sundays. And so now if I look at it, it shows me that Fridays are the most lucrative day. She makes the most money in sales on Fridays at $8,133. Yet, that's not her cheapest price. So it seems that people tend to fill up on Fridays. Maybe they're going out for the weekend. On the other hand, on the days when she's a little bit cheaper, so her cheapest day being here at $345 is Sundays, that doesn't necessarily, 5 cents cheaper on average, she does a lot less sales. So maybe that's the reason why on Sundays she has a lower price. You never know. Now, finally, I want to show you, so now I've made this table that looks at the whole time. But what if I'm only interested in a portion of the time? Ooh, didn't mean to do that. There we go. Just click back. Oh, just click back on the table and it makes it come back. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take week and I'm going to make week a filter. And what that will allow me to do is it'll put a filter up here. And in the filter tab, it'll say, do you want a specific week or a couple of them? So I'm going to pick the first 4 weeks of summer. So I want to look at how she did on, weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4. If I look at those 4 weeks, I can see, all right, now looking at the first 4 weeks, Saturdays or Fridays no longer her highest payday. It turns out that it's actually Monday at this point. It's still definitely not Sunday. And Monday again was a middle of the road kind of cost. $349 is more expensive than $340 and $339, but it is cheaper than $355. So in the first 4 weeks of what she's looking at, Monday was a big day to fill up. And so I'm betting if we go the other way and we look at the last 4 weeks, we might find that people, maybe it's closer to summer, we don't know what's happening, but now Friday's really taking over. It's a lot more gas sales. And you'll notice that the price of $351 is one of the higher prices. No, actually, in the last 4 weeks, it looks pretty consistent. And $351 is only slightly higher. And look at that. Sunday, she actually charged a decent amount of money and still made less in sales. So you can think of things that you want to put in here. And then if you don't like something, if you don't care what her competitor did, you can just drag it back out. It'll go away. And it gives you the opportunity to look at the data a little bit differently. And so it is very important that you consider using pivot tables when you're going to do some form of analysis because it allows you to see the data